What is the dumbest idea you have ever had that actually worked? I was working at this small electronics shop called TechMart. My boss Dave was the absolute worst manager you could imagine. This guy micromanaged everything. He'd literally time how long you spent in the bathroom. He blamed employees for everything that went wrong, even stuff that happened on their days off. Customer complaint about a product we sold 3 years ago? Somehow that was your fault. I was super careful at this job. Never late, always did exactly what I was supposed to do, kept my head down. But Dave still found ways to write me up for the dumbest things. One time he blamed me for an inventory error when I wasn't even working that department. Another time he said I was rude to a customer I'd never even spoken to. I started carrying this little notebook everywhere, writing down everything I did, every customer interaction just to protect myself. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Dave called me into his office and accused me of stealing time because the computer system showed me clocked in during my lunch break. I pulled out my notebook and showed him I'd written down exactly when I clocked out for lunch. I even pulled up the security camera footage on his computer showing me leaving the building. Dave just stared at the screen for a second, then looked at me with this smug expression. He said, "I'm the manager. I don't need proof to write you up." Then he handed me a disciplinary form for time theft. That's when I knew I had to do something. But what could I do? Corporate never believed regular employees over managers. They just assume I was lying to get out of trouble. So I came up with what I thought was the absolute dumbest idea of my life. I was going to pretend to be a mystery shopper. I went home that night and created a Gmail account under the name Robert Johnson. Made up this whole backstory about being a retired Army veteran who was passionate about supporting small businesses with excellent customer service. I spent hours writing this email to corporate about how I'd been shopping at the store for months and was horrified by the way employees were being treated. But then I had an even dumber idea. Why stop at just being a fake customer? I created a profile on Upwork and listed myself as a retail performance consultant. Bought a cheap template online and made this official-looking business website in like 2 hours. Then I wrote up this 6-page PDF report about Dave's management style. I filled it with all these made-up business terms I found online. Stuff like stress loop efficiency loss and hostile conflict escalation cycles. But the examples were all real. Every single thing Dave had done to me and other employees, I wrote it up like I was some outside consultant who'd observed it during a store visit. I even included statistics from my notebook about how often he wrote people up versus other stores in the district. The report looked so professional. I was honestly impressed with myself. I sent it to corporate with a cover letter explaining that I was a third-party consultant who'd been hired by another company to do some retail research, and I'd noticed some concerning management practices during my visit to their location. 2 weeks went by and nothing happened. I figured my plan had failed completely. But then one Monday morning, this woman in a business suit showed up. She introduced herself as a regional representative and asked to speak with Dave privately. They were in his office for like 2 hours. I could hear Dave's voice getting louder and more defensive through the door. The woman came out, looked around the store, talked to a few employees, then went back in for another hour. The next day, another corporate person showed up, then another meeting. Dave was sweating bullets all week. He kept giving me these suspicious looks, like he knew I'd done something but couldn't figure out what. Friday afternoon, Dave called everyone together for a staff meeting. He looked terrible. His face was all red and he kept fidgeting with his papers. He said he'd been given an opportunity to grow his career in a new direction and would be transferring to a training position at corporate headquarters, which was like 600 miles away. The regional rep pulled me aside after the meeting. She said they were really impressed with my work ethic and attention to detail, and would I be interested in an assistant manager position? The pay bump was huge. I accepted on the spot. Dave was gone by the end of the week. The best part? Corporate actually thanked me for being such a dedicated employee during the transition period. They had no idea I was the one who'd gotten their attention in the first place. My fake consulting report was apparently so convincing that they'd used it to justify a whole review of management practices across multiple locations. 3 months later, I got promoted to store manager.